So, we're starting the book, and I'll read you a really brief introduction by Swami Trigunatita, who was head of Hyderabad at the time. Swami Trigunatita, his life and work by Sister Gargi, Marie Louise Burke, the distinguished author of the 6 volumes of Swami Vivekananda in the West, is the story of one of the extraordinary monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, who served the United States in the San Francisco area in the spiritual field for about 12 years until his untimely death in January 1915. During that period, along with his dissemination of Vedantic ideas, he also constructed the first Hindu temple in America, in San Francisco, and trained several American young men and women in the spiritual life of Vedanta. Swami Trigunatita, his name was Trigunatitananda, his name was later shortened to Trigunatita by Swamiji, was a highly courageous, self-disciplined person from his very young days. He undertook hazardous pilgrimages on foot in India and often experienced the divine grace of his master, Sri Ramakrishna, on critical occasions. He had a compassionate heart and used to go out and take care of patients and suffering, helpless people in Calcutta and its vicinity. At Swami Vivekananda's suggestion, he started the Bengali journal Udbodhan in Calcutta to spread Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. He established a press and functioned as the journal's editor, printer, and even distributor till his departure at the end of 1902 for San Francisco on the order of Swami Vivekananda, given before his death on 4 July of that year. Swami Trigunatita was an efficient, hard-working person, which qualities elicited the following appreciative remark from Swami Vivekananda, a disciple. Sir, it is impossible for any other man to labor for this magazine the way Swami Trigunatita does. Swamiji, do you think these sannyasin children of Sri Ramakrishna are born simply to sit under trees lighting dooni fires? Whenever any of them will take up some work, people will be astonished to see their energy. Learn from them how to work. Incidentally, it is instructive to know that this remark of Swami Vivekananda is being realized in India today. The efficiency of the extensive relief work shouldered almost continuously by the Ramakrishna Mission is deeply appreciated by everyone from government ministers to the rescued victims of disaster. As will soon be seen, Swami Trigunatita single-handedly was one of the first in India to undertake such selfless humanitarian activity. This new book by Sister Gargi is expected to be a nearly exhaustive one of the life and work of Swami Trigunatita, based on materials available in America and elsewhere. I am sure it will be appreciated by the readers and become a source of inspiration to an increasing number of people in many parts of the world. And that was Swami Trigunatita. Well, he was vice president of the order, but in charge of Hyderabad. So, I'll hold the book up. I think you're going to be able to see it now. This is what it's going to look like. Whoops, I can't get it. Okay, it's just a picture of Swami Trigunatita on the cover, and I say only available through San Francisco. Okay. I'm sorry?
Sunanda said she got it through Abe's books also.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, chapter 1, early years. In the first years of its life, the Vedanta Society of Northern California, then known as the Vedanta Society of San Francisco, or for a time, the Hindu Temple, was thrice blessed. First, it was founded in April of 1900 by Swami Vivekananda. Second, Swami Trigunatita, another direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, took charge of the young society shortly after Swami Vivekananda had left California and remained in charge for 2 years. And third, Swami Trigunatita's successor, Swami Trigunatita, also a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, was to be in charge of the Vedanta Society for 12 years, during which time he laid its foundation strong and made sure it would not crumble. It is he, Swami Trigunatita, the bestower of the third of the Society's great blessings, who is the subject of this book, which the Vedanta Society of Northern California offers as a tribute to him. The book is also offered, though belatedly, in celebration of the centenary year of the arrival in America of his great brother disciple, Swami Vivekananda. On the afternoon of September 11th, 1893, Swami Vivekananda first addressed the American people through the august and now historic Parliament of Religions, and on that day, at that hour, the Vedanta movement started in the West, the movement whose enduring foundations Swami Trigunatita helped to build, giving fully of himself till the end of his life. Okay, second, 2. Swami Trigunatita, as he is generally Trigunatitananda, as he was generally known in India before he went to the West, was born on January 30th, 1865, in the village of Naora, Paikati, in the district of what is now South 24 Parganas of West Bengal. His pre-monastic name was Sarda Prasanna Mitra, and his family, aristocratic and landowning, was of the Kayashta caste. That's the warrior caste. His maternal grandfather had been a powerful zemindar of Paikati, and his father, Shri Krishna Mitra, belonged to the illustrious Mitra family of Naora. We first see Sarda Prasanna as a 1-year-old infant lying asleep beside his mother. It is night. The mosquito net has been lowered around the bed, and all is peace. In her sleep, Sarda's mother moves her hand and comes upon a large centipede near her child. At once, she awakens and grabs up the poisonous creature. The net prevents her from flinging it from the bed. She holds it tight and cries out for her husband. The centipede bites her hand again and again until Sarda's father comes, lights the lamps, and helps her from the bed. Only then does she drop the venomous insect. Sarda's father quickly dispatches it. Presumably, little Sarda slept through it all, but for 2 weeks afterward, the mother's hand would be swollen and painful and her whole body feverish. When Sarda was 3 years old, he was brought to the family's city house in the Nandang Bagan district of northern Calcutta, and a little later was sent to a Calcutta school. In the early 1890s, Nandang Bagan was an opulent neighborhood with beautiful gardens, palatial residences, big man-made lakes, and great patches of dense jungles. It was an ideal place for a boy to spend his childhood. Although, according to a boyhood friend of his, Narayan Chandra Ghosh, he spent most of his time reading rather than playing outside. Some of his books were bought with his school tiffin money from a man who made cardboard and who, for the purpose, bought waste paper in bulk, in effect, a recycler. Sarda and Narayan would rummage absent-mindedly through the piles of old and tattered paper, coming now and then upon damaged books that were rare treasures in their eyes and worth barely a pice to the cardboard maker. Quite a library of ragged books came thereby into the affluent Mitra household. Of a loving nature, Sarada was deeply devoted to his parents, to his 3 brothers, 1 older and 2 younger, and to his 2 older sisters. Indeed, when his 2 sisters married and departed from home, he, still a schoolboy, grieved as though they had died. Both Sarada's father and mother were highly devout. According to their oldest son's memory, the father spent almost the whole day in worship, and from his 9th year, Sarada helped in this pursuit, getting up before dawn, gathering flowers, arranging all the necessary ingredients in a convenient row, and then sitting by his father's side during the puja. Doing this twice daily without fail, Sarada became familiar with all the mantras and prayers, until by his 14th year he had committed a prodigious number of Sanskrit shlokas to memory. So punctilious was he in this assistance to his father that even on what was to be the traumatic last day of the Calcutta University entrance exam, he was with his father morning and evening helping in his worship. Not only was Sarada's heart tender and his nature devout, his intellect was keen. When he was sent to school in Calcutta as a very young child, his teachers were amazed at his exceptional intelligence. When he was 14, his father enrolled him in the 4th class of the Shambhazar branch of the Metropolitan Institution, thinking thereby to give his brilliant son a higher education. What Sarada's father unwittingly did, however, was to set his son on a straight road to Sri Ramakrishna and ultimately to sannyas, the very last thing he wanted or intended. In 1884, Sarada Prasanna took the entrance exam of the University of Calcutta. This was a huge affair. Sometimes some 40,000 or so students would gather from all over Bengal to determine their fitness or unfitness to attend the university. The examination was, of course, very competitive, but everyone who knew Sarada expected him to excel. The written session lasted from 4 to 5 days. On the first day, all went well. But on the second day, Sarada somehow lost a gold watch, of which he'd been very fond. This upset him so much that the remaining days of his examination were spoiled for him. Instead of coming out on top, his score was average or less, which upset him even more. The principal of the school in which his father had enrolled him was Mahendranath Gupta, the now celebrated M, to whom we owe the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. M had been keeping an eye on the boy Sarada, for he saw in him not only intellectual brilliance, but spiritual traits that qualified him not for a mere university education, but possibly for discipleship under Sri Ramakrishna. Finding him in a state of depression, he decided to take him to the master, and that, of course, was the turning point in Sarada's life. Actually, this was not Sarada's first sight of the master. One February afternoon in what was probably 1882, a friend of his, Hari Prasanna Chattopadhyaya, was playing at his house. Hari Prasanna, who was then about 14 years old and who would become Swami Vijnanananda, a direct disciple of the master, later related the events of that remarkable day. A friend of ours came and asked, "Would you like to visit a Paramahamsa?" "Where is he?" we inquired. "At the Diwan's house nearby," he replied. I had no idea what a Paramahamsa was. Moreover, I was a little afraid of monks who wore ochre cloth, but we all went to meet him. As we entered the house of Diwan Govinda Mukhopadhyaya, we encountered a wonderful scene. A young man, later Swami Vivekananda, was singing a devotional song, Jai Jai Dayama, Jai Dayama. Sri Ramakrishna was standing in the center of a group, and another young man, Baburam, later Swami Premananda, was holding him so that he would not fall. The master was completely oblivious of his surroundings. He wore a white cloth. His face shone with a heavenly luster, and a smile played over his lips. His teeth were visible, and there was such a joyful expression on his face that it seemed as if he would crack, like a cracked melon. His eyes seemed to be gazing at something, and he appeared to be immersed in an ocean of bliss. The master sat down and began to speak to Nitya Gopal in a mysterious language. When the master was standing, his mood was like that of the Divine Mother. Now, when he was seated, his mood was like that of Krishna. At the time, I observed another amazing thing that would remain in my memory all through my life. I saw that the master's spinal cord was swollen like a thick rope, and that his kundalini power had reached his head. It looked like the hood of a snake moving with joy. In the evening, after the kirtan, Govinda Babu accompanied the master, Swami Premananda, and others upstairs for refreshments. We then returned home. Almost 3 years passed before Sarada again saw Sri Ramakrishna. According to M., in his Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, hereafter called the Gospel, the date he took his young student to Dakshineshwar was December 27th, 1884. According to Sardananda's book, The Great Master, Sarda Prasanna's first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna occurred after the master had moved in October in 1885 to Champakor. So a little difference in, but December 1884, October 1885, it was either 1880. It was the Christmas season, M recorded. Taking advantage of the holiday, many devotees came to the temple garden to visit the master, some of them arriving in the morning. Among these were Kedar, Ram, Nitya Gopal, Tarak, Surendra, M, Sarda Prasanna, and a number of young devotees. After a while, Sri Ramakrishna went to the Panchavati with the devotees. They surrounded him, some sitting and some standing. He was seated on the cement platform around the tree, facing the southwest. He asked M, with a smile, "Have you brought the book?" The title of the book the master asked about was Devi Chowdhury. The master had met its author, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, some days before, and wanted to gauge his mind from his writing. M read aloud from the book, and as his reading proceeded, Sri Ramakrishna commented now and then, both favorably and adversely. The devotees listened to his comments with rapt attention. After the reading was over, the master said of the story, smiling, "This is not so bad. It is called the Dharma of chastity, the single-minded devotion of a wife to her husband. If God can be worshipped through an image, why shouldn't it be possible to worship him through a living person? It is God himself who sports in the world as men. Oh, what a state I passed through. I passed some days absorbed in Shiva and Durga, some days absorbed in Radha and Krishna, and some days absorbed in Sita and Rama. Assuming Radha's attitude, I would cry for Krishna. Assuming Sita's attitude, I would cry for Rama. But Leela is by no means the last word. Passing through all these states, I said to the Divine Mother, Mother, in these states there is separation. Give me a state where there is no separation. Then I remained for some time absorbed in the indivisible Satchidananda. I removed the pictures of the gods and goddesses from my room. I began to perceive God in all beings. Formal worship dropped away. You see the bell tree? I used to go there and to pluck its leaves. One day as I plucked a leaf, a bit of bark came off. I found the tree full of consciousness. I felt grieved because I had hurt the tree. One day I tried to pluck some durva grass, and I found I couldn't do it very well. Then I forced myself to pluck it. I cannot cut a lemon. The other day I managed to cut one only with great difficulty. I chanted the name of Kali and cut the fruit as they slaughter an animal before the goddess. One day I was about to gather some flowers. They were everywhere on the trees. At once I had a vision of Virat. It appeared that his worship was just over. The flowers looked like a bouquet placed on the head of the deity. I could not pluck them. God sports through man as well. I see man as the embodiment of Narayana. As fire is kindled when you rub two pieces of wood together, so God can be seen in man if you have intense devotion. If there is suitable bait, big fish like carp gulp it down at once. When one is intoxicated with prema, you see God in all beings. But you must remember one thing. You cannot see God sporting as man unless one has had the vision of him. God vision is necessary. Now the question is, how can we get it? Intense renunciation is the means. A man should have such intense yearning for God that he can say, O Father of the universe, am I outside your universe? Won't you be kind to me, you wretch? What words to have heard on the first visit to Dakshineshwar. The young Sarada was captured for good. In later years, Swami Sardananda told an American disciple of Swami Trigunatita's that he, Sarada, first came to the master. He listened to him with deep attention absorbed. The master, seeing this, said to him, dive deep, and you will find. Sarada was to spend many hours at Sri Ramakrishna's feet. Later in his life, when speaking of those days, he said, Sri Ramakrishna did not have a halo merely above his head. His whole body was surrounded by light. Sarada's frequent visits to Sri Ramakrishna were not known to his family. Devout though his parents were, they would not have permitted their promising young son to visit the Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar, who by this time had a reputation of spoiling the minds of bright young men, turning them toward renunciation. But it did not escape the notice of Sarada's parents and older brother that he had lost interest in his intellectual studies and was becoming more and more religiously fervent. Seeing this ominous behavior, the parents became alert. Soon they discovered where Sarada was spending much of his time, and forthwith they forbade him to visit the Paramahamsa. Moreover, they began to make serious arrangements for his marriage. None of this stopped Sarada from continuing to visit Sri Ramakrishna without his parents' knowledge. But having no pocket money for this purpose, It was difficult for him to return from Dakshineshwar to Calcutta. Holy Mother, Sarda Devi, came to the rescue. Knowing without a word being spoken that some of the boy disciples would need money for the return to Calcutta, and they would be asked by Sri Ramakrishna to get it from her, she kept a small cache of annas on the steps of her room, the Nahabat, where they could find it. Aware that his parents were determined to arrange his marriage, Sarda mentioned the matter to Sri Ramakrishna. We find in the Gospels something, at least, of that conversation, which took place at Balaram Bosa's house on the day of the car festival, July 14, 1885. Now, let me see. Okay, we'll just read what it says in the Gospel. Sri Ramakrishna was describing the visions of God when he went into Samadhi. The devotees looked at him with fixed gaze. After a long time, he regained consciousness of the world and talked to the devotees. At this moment, Sarda, another young disciple of the Master, entered the room and saluted him. Master, to Sarda, why don't you come to Dakshineshwar? Why don't you see me when I come to Calcutta? Sarda, nobody tells me about it. Master, next time I shall let you know. To M, make a list of these youngsters. M and the devotees laugh. Sarda, my relatives at home want me to marry, pointing to M. How many times has he scolded me about marriage? Master, why should you marry just now? To M, Sarda is now in a very good state of mind. Formerly, he had a hesitant look, but now his face beams with joy. And I think we'll stop there for this evening. Okay. Any questions or comments about this book on Trigunatita?
I do. I have a question.
I'm
Trying to
sorry?
get right there. I have a question. Who is Sister Gargi?
Sister Gargi is devotee in San Francisco, Marie Louise Burke, who wrote 6 volumes on Swamiji's visits to the West. And they're exceptionally good. They cover every single minute he spent in the West. So that's who she was.
She was given sannyas too by the order.
Okay, Dharmadash just telling me she was given sannyas by the order in India, I believe. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So, good question, Leanne. Saturday we'll have the Gospel of Ramakrishna read by Swami C. And Sunday we will have Swami Dhyana Yogananda up here from Trabuco talking on spiritual bypassing. I have no idea what that means. Next Wednesday we will have Swami Trigunatita, his life and work. And then the next Saturday will be Swami Sarvadevananda with his Bhagavad Gita class at 5. And his lecture is, I've forgotten. I'm sorry? The web we weave. I think we can all relate to that. We do weave those webs around ourselves. Okay, well, it's good to see all of you, and have a good weekend. I hear we're going to have a little more rain, so we're quite happy with all the rain we've gotten, no problems at all. So, and I hope you have the same. Okay. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Panamastu.